when you value yourself and you value your space on your own, it forces others to have to do the same. They have to value you. They have to bring value. You are not just gonna hang out with people because you need somebody to hang out with, or because you're lonely, because you're bored. Because when you're by yourself, you are fun. You're not lonely when you're by yourself because you're with yourself and you love to be with yourself and you're cool with that. So now when other people want to come into your space, they have to meet you there. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, I just want to make sure that you showed yourself some love today. Take some deep breaths, enjoy your environment, drink some water, move your body, do some deep stretches. Just do something to make sure that you are giving yourself some love today, because I feel like we need more reminders and people letting us know to do that. So this is me letting you know to do that. If you haven't, pause this video, come back, I'll wait for you. Okay, we good? All right, welcome back. My name is Andy, and on my little corner of the interwebs here, we talk about life, love, the pursuit of passion, the pursuit of purpose, and we do occasional little vloggy vlogs from time to time. Matter of fact, the last video, we were in Chicago, solo trip to Chicago, so much fun. And now we're back home, back in my element, back in my favorite place ever, in the safety and comforts of my house, where I pay rent. But in the vein of talking about solo trips, and also in the vein of talking about showing love to yourself, today we have to, I just want to talk about the importance of cultivating peace and finding comfort in your solitude. Because just going on my solo trip to Chicago, it kind of like brings up the conversation. It makes space for the discussion to be had here in this space, in this corner of the internet where I inhabit, about just like how valuable and how pivotal becoming comfortable in my solitude has been for me in my life and in my life's journey. I feel like I've always been pretty introverted. People go back and forth with me, kind of saying like I'll say I'm an introvert and they're like, you're an omnivert, and it's like, okay, like I feel like I'm an introvert. The specific thing that makes me feel like I'm an introvert is the requirement that I recharge alone. Like, I don't always want to be around people. I can be around people. I'm social. I know how to have a conversation. I know how to hold a conversation. I know how to create conversations with people. I know how to have a good time amongst others. It doesn't intimidate me. Like, I'm not a very shy person. I can be fake shy sometimes if I'm like, I don't know, but like if I have to get into it, I can get into it. But then after all that is said and done, like the same amount of time that I gave to being social and being out and about and being around people and exerting all that energy, I have to give it back to myself in solitude, in the dark somewhere. That is how I recharge. And that's why I think I'm an introvert. But the social aspect and the fact that I'm not shy, the fact that I can have conversations and it doesn't like scare me to be out and about around people. People tell me I'm an omnivert. When I look up both definitions, I don't know. It's like I feel more close to introversion, but I don't know. It is what it is. The point is, I've always kind of been someone who feels more comfortable being in solitude. I was raised an only child, came up an only child. I spent a lot of time by myself. I've always been somebody where I don't need to be around anybody that I don't want to be around. Ever, basically. I've never had to be around someone I don't want to be around. If I'm tired of being around somebody or whatever, I can leave, I can go home, they go home, like whatever the case may be. And the default, like home base, is usually by myself or just like with family. And usually in my family, like who I lived with and stuff, is usually like one other person or maybe like 3 other people. Like it's not a big family, you know? So being by myself has always been kind of the default. Like that is where I've spent most of my time, and that is how I have had a lifetime basically of practice in being comfortable in that space. And the only time that I ever really felt uncomfortable with being by myself or felt some kind of way about it was, I guess, like when I was younger, kind of dealing with FOMO sometimes, like having friends and stuff that have siblings, or if friends, like talking middle school, high school years, if anybody ever was to like go do something and not invite me, I would feel some kind of way about it, like, oh, okay, you know. But if I really was just by myself, like sometimes it's like I could be invited to something and it's like I don't really want to go. It's just the fact that it's like, you better invite me though, you know, like I want to feel like you wanted me to be there, but it's like at the same time I don't feel like it. But I grew out of that pretty quickly, actually. Going into college years, like also high school, college years, I've never really been someone who was ever a part of like a friend group. I'll know a lot of people, and a lot of people may know of me, or it's like I'm cool with different groups of people, different friend groups, but I've never really actually been a part of one. I think I experienced being a part of one for like 2 seconds in college, like literally freshman year of college, first like couple weeks. I like had this group that I was in, but eventually everyone kind of dispersed and went their own ways. And even in that experience, like, it was okay, but it was also a bit much sometimes. It's like I always kind of felt like it's just a lot, and it's like a lot required of you when you have a group of people who are like always looking to like hang out with you or talk to you, or it's like if this person ain't saying something to you, this person is. And it's like the love is beautiful. I like it. I would always appreciate it, but it's like for me specifically, I am someone where it's like I don't need all that. Like I can go be by my, like I like to have the space and opportunity to go be by myself, and that has also caused like strains in some friendships for me, like on greater levels where it's like best friends, where it's like we have troubles with like those boundaries, where it's like, okay, Andy don't feel like talking, let me leave her alone, but then Andy also wants to show love to people, and it's like just because I don't feel like talking, it doesn't mean that I don't want to make space for someone when they need me, or if they want to talk, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So kind of finding that balance between like having high maintenance friends and being a low maintenance friend, and that decision that has maybe costed me potential friendships, when it's like people would like hit me up to hang out every weekend, and I'm like, why are we, you want to hang out again? Like, I just saw you a week ago. And then it's like when you do hang out with them, they're like, well, you don't never come out, we don't never see you. And that is like the number one way to make me never ever see you again, because it's like, girl, I'm here and you want to complain the whole time that I'm here, how you don't never see me. Well, now you definitely never gonna see me. So just on the topic of having a lifetime of like growing more comfortable and like kind of having the back and forth with like me being comfortable with being like an introvert, or being comfortable in my solitude, not really feeling pressure to always be around others, but also having the ups and downs and the battles of like feeling left out if I'm not invited, or feeling like if I want to go do certain things and like experience certain things in life, I need somebody to be there with me. Like I don't want to go by myself, things like that, because it's like you grow up and a lot of people are like that, where it's like you're always going somewhere with other people, and that naturally became how I was too, where it's like, yeah, I'm cool with being by myself at home, but like when I want to go to the movies, or I want to go out to eat, or I want to whatever, you know, I have to be with somebody else. And there were long periods of time actually where I would want to go and experience things, but I was still in that space of needing other people to go experience those things with me. And I didn't have people in my life that were reliable enough in that aspect, to be honest. Like there were people who were very like, people would flake on you. Like people are humans at the end of the day. It's like people will flake, people don't want to say no, so it's like they say yes but then they really don't want to do it, whatever the case may be, where it's like ultimately it would cost me the experience. So it's like I want to go do something, I want to go enjoy this stuff, but since nobody will go do it with me, I just can't go. And that would cause very great despair for me, because like, bro, I actually want to be outside, I actually want to go do this, and I can't because I don't have someone to go with. And it takes years of that for me to eventually reach in like my mid-20s. I think like I got to a point in my mid-20s where I was like, I need to get comfortable with going places alone. Yes, I'm cool with being in the house recharging by myself, but I need to grow comfortable with being outside and experiencing this world and this life and doing the things that I want to do. So I started with like going out to eat, or like going and sitting at a bar. I went to a couple concerts by myself. I think the first concert I went to by myself, I think it was Erykah Badu, because I really started exploring this when I was living in San Diego, and I think it was Erykah Badu around like 2017 or so. So I was what? Child, don't give me the line. What year is it? So I was like 25. So 24, 25, start exploring this, went to concerts by myself, started like challenging myself, like, okay, Andy, on Friday, you're going to go to happy hour at this restaurant that you love and you've been to several times before. You just never been by yourself. Go sit at the bar, get some calamari, have a drink, bring a book, you're fine. Like, starting to practice and just like cultivate that more and just challenge myself, because I didn't want to depend on others anymore when it came to that. I didn't want my experience and my ability to go out and be a part of this world and see this world to be dependent on whether somebody else could go with me. So it really just, it took breaking out of that. And I have to say, what really broke me out of that was a solo trip. I took my first solo trip to Hawaii when I was 29 for my 29th birthday, and it literally changed my life. It was the most beautiful experience. I was so excited to go. Like, I was kind of nervous, but I think by that point I had really just reached a point where it's like, I know I need to do this for myself. So it wasn't so much nervousness as just like, let's just see how this goes, I guess. Like, maybe a bit of anxiety, a little bit of like, I don't know, but at the same time, there was just so much more excitement and so much more feeling that element of freedom when it comes to like, okay, I'm taking this trip, I'm planning this itinerary. Everything that I do is up to me. Like, where I stay, when my flights are, like how I get to the hotel, like what my itinerary consists of, where I go eat. That kind of really started my interest and my ability to really like come up with my itineraries for trips, which is now how I always do it, where it's like, it's a loose itinerary, because if I'm by myself, it's like, I want to have things that I can go do, but maybe I change my mind. So it's like, there's some stuff where it's like, this is required, this is what I for sure want to do, we got to book that, we got to get those tickets in advance, then that's booked and that's confirmed. But then it's like, I'll have other things on the schedule where it's like, okay, here are the restaurant options, these are the dinner options. I look at the menu for everything. This restaurant is best for dinner, this restaurant is best for brunch, this restaurant is best for happy hours. Like, having everything for every option and listing it on my Notion, because baby, I use Notion and I'm addicted to it. My whole life is in there. I don't know what I would do without it. But listing all of that in my Notion, or I think back at that time, I don't think I was on Notion yet. I think I just used my notes app or something. But just having everything listed for every day, so that I had those options available. So that's like, when I get to dinner time, if I didn't book a reservation for somewhere that I for sure wanted to go to, whenever I get hungry, I have this list of places that I can go to. I know exactly how far away it is from the hotel for me. I know what time I need to go. Like, having all of that planned out. So being able to go on that solo trip and experience just being somewhere by myself, somewhere new. I had never been to Hawaii before. It was my first time. I went to Oahu, and I stayed in Honolulu. I stayed in Waikiki, so very much the super touristy part. I made sure that that area is touristy. It's like, I will feel most safe here. I don't know what to expect with Hawaii, again, because I had never been there, but it's like, let me be where the tourists are, because I'm a tourist and I'm solo and I just want to be where I know it's going to be a whole bunch of people. So I stayed there. Just the experience of like breaking myself out of my shell in that way, and in such a big way too. It's like, we go from needing to force myself out of the house to go to a happy hour by myself to traveling to a whole island alone. And it unlocked this whole other level of freedom for me, where I was just like, I can do anything now. Like, I can do anything. I can go wherever. I don't care where I go by myself now. There were times on that trip where it's like, I'm out to dinner or waiting on my table, like I have a reservation, but I'm waiting for my table to be available, and I'd see people like looking and kind of like whispering about me and stuff. And you kind of learn in those moments, it's like, okay, I don't know what they're saying. I don't know, like, are they aware that I'm alone? Are they talking about me being by myself? And it's like, those thoughts would cross my mind, but then I was training myself where it's like, if they are, so what? Like, I'm here minding my business. They're here trying to mind my business too. Who's having more fun? Like, you all in my stuff. Like, you know, I'm not paying no attention to y'all. I'm only paying attention to you because I see you staring at me. So it's like being able to have a different perception, where it's like, when you're out by yourself, people are not really paying attention to you all like that as much as you think. Or even if they are, so what? Like, that's because they're losers. Sorry. That's because they have something going on where it's like they can't focus on themselves and have fun without needing to talk about you. Like, that's sad, you know, if that is the case. But I've come to notice that a lot of the times it's like people may just be looking at you or whatever because they're thinking of striking up conversation with you. There were also other experiences where I was by myself at the bar and like somebody would strike up conversation and they were looking first. Like first they're kind of like looking like, oh, you know, like they're with somebody else and they keep kind of looking over in my direction. And eventually they just end up saying something. It's like, oh, that's what you want to know. They were just wondering like which drink I got or something like that, you know? So it just really took like getting out of your head, and it forced you to get out of your head because I'm going to get my money's worth on this trip. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to receive everything that I want to receive from this trip. It is my birthday. Like, baby, I'm having a good time. I'm not going to let my own thoughts and my own negative perception get in the way of that. Or even if my negative perception ends up being true, I'm not going to let that get in the way of this whole situation. Even if somebody is like aware that I'm by myself and they're making fun of me, so what? I'm living my life, like, and I'm happy, you know. That trip really changed it all for me, where now I can go anywhere, I can do anything, I can just be alone in my solitude. I don't have to depend on anybody else for anything. Like, if I want to go out and experience this world in any capacity, I have myself and that's all I need. Like, and I'm good. And I'm gonna have just as much fun and maybe more fun than I would if I was with somebody else. So to continue with this, I want to tell y'all why I believe everyone should cultivate that same peace and comfort in your solitude. Why everyone should allow themselves the opportunity to be alone with themselves and find enjoyment in that, find peace and comfort and love in that, find the value in that. It's so essential. So I think the first thing would just be being able to just sit with yourself in your own happiness that is literally like internally cultivated. You have created this. You are good with just being here alone with yourself. It's essential. It makes it where you can be happy anywhere. You can be at peace. You can be comfortable. You can feel love anywhere. You don't need somebody else to bring that to you. And that is just so important because it's something that you'll always have, because you always have you. You feel me? Like, at the end of the day, you always have you, and that allows you to maintain it. You don't have to depend on somebody else to bring that to you. Also, it unlocks a different level of freedom. Like, you get to move about this world freely on your own time, in your own way that you prefer. You can change your mind if you want to in regards to like what you're deciding to do. You pay more attention to your own needs in the way that you are choosing to and you are needing to show up in this world without needing to consider where someone else may be in that same journey that they're on in their separate lane. And the bottom line with that is like, you're allowed to be selfish. Basically, you're allowed to gain a greater understanding of yourself, which allows you to better prioritize how you need to show up for yourself in all your experiences, in whatever way, and at whatever capacity you need to. And believe it or not, in allowing yourself to be selfish and figure yourself out in that very selfish way, it in turn results in you being able to be selfless at a much greater capacity, because you have unlocked the ability to read yourself and fill yourself with what you are needing. Your well never runs dry. You are always able to pour into others because you have an internal source of everything that you need, all the happiness, all the recharging, everything that you need in order to continue to move about this life, you can give to yourself. And that increases your fulfillment. Again, you're filling yourself up internally because you're allowing yourself to be selfish and figure these things out. Because you can fill yourself up internally, you can now give that to others. You can exert that love and all of that positivity that you are able to literally cultivate and create within, now you can give that to others. So being selfish allows you to, in turn, be more selfless. Another thing, being able to be comfortable in your solitude and being by yourself, it opens you up to so much more in this life. It's literally just you, this world, and God, or the universe, spirit, source, whatever you say. Like, it opens you. It's just you, this world, and the divine. You are experiencing everything. You are hyper aware. You are observing this world around you. You are seeing everything. You are seeing who is walking by. You're reading body language of strangers. You're being wrapped up into the warmth of the sunshine. Like, you can just be so hyper aware of everything, and you're also aware of where your mind goes in those moments, aware of where your thoughts lead you, and also you can hear the inner voice that is speaking to you in those moments so much more clear. You're not distracted with like entertaining or being a part of somebody else's story. You're literally just the main character walking your own path of your own story. And that inner voice is yours, it's your higher selves, it's God's, it's the divine's, and you can hear it so much more clear in that solitude, in those moments of peace, and those moments that you spend on your own. And it also, with opening you up to more, it opens you up to have more conversations with others. Like, you may have a lot of conversations when you're out with your friends or people you know. Like, maybe you still talk to strangers, but I feel like when you're by yourself, the people that strike up conversations with you, it's like another type of conversation. Like, it's not as surface level. Sometimes it has more space to like grow and for you to really get a deeper read on someone that is also just out here in this world living this life, like on their own path. I feel like the conversations I've had when I've gone out by myself and like strangers talk to me, or even sometimes when I strike up conversations with people, we have such eye-opening conversations. Like, it's something where you really just are reminded. It's like Sonder is just being reminded of how everybody has their own detailed, intricate situations, like a life that is just as deep and meaningful and filled with so many experiences and lessons and growth and learning, just like yours. And being by yourself opens you up to having those conversations where you can learn that, and where you can be reminded of that, of all these different lanes and sprouts that are happening around you that you are not otherwise aware of when you're just focused on the people that you're with. And probably the most important thing, being comfortable with yourself allows you to have a much higher requirement for the people who are allowed to experience your energy, because you value your space and your alone time so much, and you see how peaceful and how comfortable and beautiful your energy is on its own. It raises the standard. Like, the standard that you have set now in your solitude is much higher, and for people to be able to experience that and be around you, they have to meet that standard as well. They have to bring value to you and your energy. They have to deserve to be there. And honestly, like, yeah, it is an aspect of they need to deserve to be here. And you're allowed to be like, okay, I'm me, and do you deserve to be around me? Like, people do have to show that they can bring you something. And when you value yourself and you value your space on your own, it forces others to have to do the same. They have to value you. They have to bring value. You are not just going to hang out with people because you need somebody to hang out with, or because you're lonely, because you're bored. Because when you're by yourself, you are fun. You're not lonely when you're by yourself because you're with yourself, and you love to be with yourself, and you're cool with that. So now when other people want to come into your space, they have to meet you there. They have to meet or exceed the peace that you have cultivated on your own. They have to meet that comfort. They have to bring something to you that allows them to be in that space with you. And that opens you up to receiving and only allowing yourself to be around a higher caliber of people. So honestly, I have to say, like, mastering solitude to me it's the cheat code. People will talk about all the time, like, self-love, you need to love yourself, you need to love yourself, and they don't tell you how. And honestly, they can't tell you how, because nobody can tell you how to love yourself. But I think a very good place to start is with mastering being alone with yourself, because you learn that through how you are able to love yourself and nurture yourself in your time alone, in your time by yourself. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this topic, how you feel about being alone with yourself, about mastering solitude, about spending time with yourself and maybe recharging on your own, or if you're more extroverted and you need to recharge around people. But like, how do you feel in your solitude as well, like just spending time with yourself as an extrovert? Like, I'm curious to know, because honestly, I feel like I'm more surrounded by like more introverted people. Even the people who claim to be extroverts, they're like, well, I like my alone time, I need to go be by myself. So I don't know, I feel like maybe it's a spectrum. Like, maybe it's fluid, maybe it just depends on the day and the mood and the season that you're in, where like maybe you have more extroverted seasons, maybe you have more introverted seasons. But ultimately, I think that no matter what season you're in or how you identify when it comes to your social capacity, I think that it's always valuable and important to be okay with being by yourself, with experiencing this world on your own, with going out and being just you. Just being alone with you and having comfort in that. I actually think it's unhealthy if you can't do that. Like, not, definitely no judgment here, but I think that it would just do you could do yourself a solid by making sure that the person who you spend the most time with in this world, the only person you will spend this much time with in this world, yourself, that you are okay with that person and being alone with that person. Because if you're not, yeah, you should probably go talk to the lady, Buki, because you need to cultivate that relationship. I don't think that you can properly create and maintain relationships, healthy relationships, without having that solid foundation with yourself, without appreciating and valuing the company that you have right here internally with yourself. And of course, also always keep in mind, going out alone or even with others, like being smart, being aware of your environment, keeping your head on a swivel. Make sure that you are not being delulu in your excursions and in your adventures and your explorations while you're solo. Like, making sure that you are still aware that this world is still this world, and while you're out here experiencing and la la la, that you're also like not being unsmart about it. Make sure that you are being smart and you are taking care of yourself and being aware of your surroundings at all times, whether you're by yourself or you're with the girls or you're with whoever you with. Always, but especially being out here by yourself. While I'm up here advocating for solo trips and stuff like that, like, there is that aspect. You don't want to make it cloud the whole picture though. Like, don't put that whole negative picture on it, like, oh, I don't want to go by myself, I'm scared. Like, don't be like that. Don't let it stop you, because anything can happen to you anywhere with anybody, to be honest. But just going about life in a way where you're not putting those types of possibilities front and center. Being aware that the best can happen, but just also just being smart at the same time. You got me? Okay. But thank you so much for watching, y'all, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.